Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at 8 a.m., we are following two breaking news stories. 6 people were shot in 2 separate shootings in Durham, the youngest being a 2-year-old girl.
Stay with us as we piece together what happened.
And I'm on the weather patio this morning here where the temperatures are fairly comfortable. We're now moving into the 70s. It'll be a fast warm up into the 90s, and I'll show you when our heat hits dangerous levels this weekend coming up.
And people in Texas and Mexico are cleaning up after the debris from Tropical Storm Alberto. We have a look at the damage that's left behind. It's unfortunately there. A couple people died. We'll get with that story and some other ones that we're following this morning. We want to welcome you first here to WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Jeff. I mean, that was some angry Gulf water right there.
Yeah.
You don't usually see those waves like that. Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio. This is starting off just like it has been all week long, but the tough stuff is coming.
You know, even with high temperatures in the 90s this week, it's been very comfortable in the mornings. And that's because our dew points have been in the moderate level. A dew point is the moisture in the atmosphere. And the higher that number goes, the more uncomfortable it feels. And it's really been pretty nice. A beautiful start here in the gardens this morning. Lots of sunshine, beautiful flowers. Our temperature did just jump to 76 for the last few hours. Really, for most of the night, our temperatures were in the 60s, so feeling good. But our dew point is sitting at 65. Now, if it gets any higher than that, it really pushes us over to feeling muggy, but it's likely to stay at 65 or a little lower during the afternoon. We check out temperatures heading out, 72 in Southern Pines, 71 in Goldsboro, at 68 in Roxboro, but some mid-70s in the Triangle area. Hour by hour, we are looking at a high in the low 90s, but again, with that lower heat index or that lower dew point today, it'll feel as comfortable as 93 can be. Totally different story starting tomorrow. Everything starts to get stickier and then even more dangerous for Sunday and Monday. I'll show you what it'll feel like coming up. Ken?
WRAL Traffic Center, we have reports of state troopers working a crash over in the north side of Chapel Hill this morning on I-40 westbound. We're not seeing any major delays in that area, but just watch for some police activity once you get past that area, especially if you're heading westbound this morning. We've got a disabled vehicle on I-40 eastbound on Rock Quarry Road. As you can see right now, our sensors are not picking up any problems in the area. Just be careful navigating that area because, you know, there's a disabled motorist there and somebody is trying to help them, or law enforcement officers are trying to help them as well. We're seeing some real traffic building in both the north and southbound lanes of I-885 this morning. Sometimes it'll be really bumper-to-bumper traffic. Sometimes it's brake tapping. We do know there's some construction going on there on 885, so keep that in mind as you're about to head out this morning. The Beltline, we've seen the usual building of congestion this morning. This is I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. The westbound lanes moving away from us, moving around rather nicely this morning. Over the north side of the Beltline, this is what we're seeing this morning. This is our camera at I-440 and Lake Boone Trail. Traffic is moving nicely in both directions.
Ken, thank you. WRAL is following breaking news in Durham. 6 people were shot within hours in 2 separate shootings. 3 people were shot around 3:30 this morning on Fayetteville Street. And only about 7 hours earlier, a 2-year-old girl and 2 adults were shot on East Cornwallis Road. We have team coverage of this story this morning, and we start with WRAL's Heidi Kirk on Fayetteville Street. Heidi, you had a moment to speak with a neighbor there.
Yes, we did. And what that neighbor told us is that it's not the first time that something like this has happened to him. In fact, he's seen several open investigations like we're seeing behind me right now, right in front of his house. I'm going to step out of the way and give you a look over here. You're going to see forensics on the scene and a couple dozen evidence markers that are being looked at as we speak. Now, this happened on Fayetteville Street and Linwood Avenue around 3:30 this morning. When officers arrived, they found 3 victims, 2 adult men and an adult woman. Now, the 2 men were transported to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, but the woman is fighting for her life. Now, again, we spoke with someone who lives nearby, and we'll have more on that later this morning. But at this time, this investigation is ongoing at this time, and police are asking anyone with any answers about what went on here to come forward. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, live in Durham.
Part of that violent night, Nick Perlin is also in the Durham in the WRAL breaking news tracker. And Nick, police are investigating that earlier shooting where a 2-year-old girl is in serious condition there and 2 adults were hurt.
And Jeff, that's right. Just heartbreaking details coming out of this shooting at a Durham apartment complex. This happened at around 8 last night. I do want to show you this video from the WRAL breaking news tracker, and you can see Durham police at the Cadence apartment complex in Durham, and you can see they're focusing their search on that large part of the parking lot. They had a large area of that taped off as they try to figure out what exactly happened. Now, like Jeff said, we know 3 people were shot, 1 man and 1 woman, and of course, that 2-year-old girl. Just horrible details coming out. We know the 2 adults are expected to recover, but that 2-year-old girl, she's fighting for her life with very serious injuries right now. We're still trying to learn from Durham police if they know what exactly led up to this shooting. And of course, we're still trying to ask if they know who fired that gun last night and is responsible for the shooting. We'll keep asking for more information. Reporting live in Durham, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Parts of the Texas coast are dealing with the aftermath of Tropical Storm Alberto. This caused flooding during high tides in Galveston and other coastal communities. And some areas were drenched in more than 4 inches of rain before the storm weekend. Mexican authorities blame the storm for at least 4 deaths after making landfall yesterday morning. That includes 2 young people who were electrocuted while riding bicycles in the rain. The storm brought heavy rains to regions of the country that have been parched by a recent drought.
Next week, First Lady Jill Biden will visit North Carolina. WRAL has learned she will travel to Charlotte Tuesday. She'll be in our state to deliver remarks at a political finance event. Her visit here is happening days before the presidential debate between Presidents Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now, Biden plans to visit Raleigh next Friday. That's the day after that debate.
NC State plans to gut Poe Hall. That's the building where hundreds of people worked or studied and now believe gave them cancer. NC State Chancellor Randy Woodson put out a public explanation about these plans. Alumni are fighting to keep the building the way it is so they can have it independently tested. Attorneys fighting NC State in court say the school hasn't done enough testing to have a full picture of the problem.
Today, the UNC Board of Governors will elect a new chancellor for North Carolina A&T State University. The school's current chancellor, Harold Martin, is retiring at the end of the academic year. The virtual meeting gets started at 11:30 this morning.
Take Back Title IX is the message from a coalition on a national tour opposing changes to its policy. Athletes, coaches, and advocates make up that coalition, and the Biden administration recently rewrote the law, prioritizing gender identity over sex. The group called Our Bodies, Our Sports made a stop in Chapel Hill last night. Former UNC women's basketball coach Sylvia Hatchell joined them, and she says it comes down to a fairness issue. We spoke with a representative from the National Center for Transgender Equality, and they say rhetoric like this is harmful to trans athletes.
To say we should have our community separated from cisgender community in terms of the sports world, it goes against what Title IX stands for.
If female athletes have to play transgenders, it's not fair and it's not equal and it's not anywhere close to being a level playing field.
The new Title IX rules also require schools to take immediate action to end any sex discrimination and protect against retaliation for exercising rights. The changes are set to take effect August 1st.
A special tribute to Willie Mays was part of Major League Baseball's celebration of the Negro Leagues. His son Michael addressed the crowd before a game between the San Francisco Giants and St. Louis Cardinals. The game was played in Birmingham, Alabama. Willie Mays played at that park, Rickwood Field, when he made his debut with the Birmingham Black Barons in 1947. Some surviving Negro League players were on hand for the special event. The Negro Leagues featured black players for the first half of the 20th century before Jackie Robinson broke the Major League color barrier.
The first direct flight from Panama City will land at RDU in just a few hours. The Copa Airlines flight will land at 1:30 this afternoon, and the new flight was announced back in February. Travelers can make the trip on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Coming up, a look at new life-saving technology, how a new app can help first responders detect signs of a stroke in just seconds.
Plus, the search for a lost pet donkey. It had a happy ending, where Diesel the donkey was found 5 years after he went missing.
And we're looking at a big heat wave that comes in starting over the weekend. I'll show you which day is coming up. We have the potential for a heat advisory.
Oh, this is a live look at sunny Sanford here this morning at 8:13. We are so glad you're with us watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. We're getting a bump in the temperatures right now as well. Pretty quickly, Elizabeth, this is going to rise.
Yes, earlier this morning when I first came out on the patio, temperatures were in the 60s and it felt very comfortable. It still feels fine because I've got a little bit of shade right here. But here's what's happening. We've had a high pressure system sitting over us that's allowed all of this heat to start to build a little bit. Temperatures, in the low 90s the last several days. But we've also had some pleasant mornings. We're going to see that starting to change as the high starts to back away. Our wind will start to shift out of the southwest. That's going to bump up our heat and humidity. Notice that low that's sitting off the coast of Florida. That one has the potential to become a tropical system. It's only a 50% chance that it would develop, and you can see that up there off the coast of Florida. And then a second one there in the Gulf of Mexico with a 50 to 60% chance of developing, and that one's likely to dump some heavy rain in parts of Mexico and Texas, pretty much in the same spot that Alberto did. But let's first talk about the one that's going to develop off the coast of Florida and Georgia. And we see the model plots moving inland around Georgia and then kind of swinging up the coast of North Carolina. That's nothing to be concerned about. This is not going to be a system that causes us any issues. As a matter of fact, take a look at Futurecast. Notice the rainfall. We have a little wave that develops. It moves on shore and just kind of fizzles, weakens. We have some showers along the coast of Georgia and South Carolina, and maybe a little bit of scattered shower activity in the afternoon there on Saturday along the southeast coast. But that's about all we're going to see. This does not look like it's really going to come moving up the coast and bring us anything noticeable. But this is going to be a little different story. This one develops over the Bay of Campeche and moves inland in Mexico, bringing as much as another 5 or 6 inches to parts of Mexico that have been flooding. And then in Texas, just a few inches in the southern counties. There definitely was some flooding there with Alberto. So a little additional rain could still cause some problems there. For us, we're looking at a dangerously hot weekend. 97 Saturday, 98 on Sunday. Heat index on Saturday, 102, 107 on Sunday. And that's going to put us in the danger zone. And it doesn't stop there. Temperatures will be in the upper 90s Monday and Tuesday, 100 on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we have a front that comes through that should drop our temperatures at least somewhat. Our next best chance of rain comes on Monday, but it's not likely to cool us down much. You can see that front up to the north and west. Watch as we get into the afternoon. Monday, there's 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Some showers and storms develop, especially in our eastern counties. And boy, we definitely need the rain. The drought monitor, when it came out yesterday, has a lot of our viewing area covered in abnormally dry conditions. That's okay, but we are looking at a rapidly developing drought out there. Look at this. In the last 30 days, we've only seen about 10 to 25% of our normal rainfall. So we'll get a chance of that on Monday and again on Thursday. But our biggest story, of course, this week is going to be the heat. We're going to talk a bit more about the heat index for the next few days coming up.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. This just really happened in the last few minutes as we were standing here. A crash on the exit ramp to I-40 westbound there in Chapel Hill area. Keep an eye on that. You can see the major backup that it's causing in that area. Of course, we'll keep an eye on that because it just happened and let you know exactly what's going on, especially if you were getting ready to head west this morning, and keep you posted. This is a disabled vehicle, not really causing any problems really right now in the eastbound lanes of I-40 near Rock Quarry Road. Not a problem to worry about this morning. Elsewhere around the triangle, we're seeing that congestion building on those north and southbound lanes of I-885 there in Durham. It's not going to make you terribly late, but if you wanted to avoid it altogether, you can actually use Highway 55 and make your way into the Bull City. Elsewhere around the triangle, we're seeing the usual traffic building in the north side of the Beltline as well as the south side of the Beltline, but traffic is moving at a steady clip.
Triple-digit temperatures are expected in some areas of California today, and that could make firefighting efforts tough. Firefighters are trying to get the Sites fire in Colusa County under control. It's burned almost 20,000 acres so far. In New Mexico, the South Fork and Salt fires are 0% contained as of this morning. At least 2 people have died as a result, and around 1,400 structures have been destroyed. And yesterday, the FBI announced it is joining the investigation into the cause of those fires.
The state treasurer is defending himself after he was accused of using his state vehicle for personal use. He's also getting support from the former state auditor. You may remember Beth Wood. She crashed a state-issued vehicle into a parked car after a holiday party. Then a state investigation found she was using state-owned vehicles for personal trips. Well, now, State Treasurer Dale Folwell faces similar accusations. Wood says there are too many inconsistencies in how the state oversees this.
I, for 14 years, turned in mileage logs. Dale Folwell, for 8 years, has turned in mileage logs. And department administration staff never once brought it to our attention that we were doing something wrong. Not sloppiness on our part, no. It was trusting that people around us were doing their job.
Folwell released a statement last night saying that his staff is assisting in compiling the documentation to fully answer any outstanding questions and that he tried to be very careful in following published guidance.
The Senate has passed a bill that could ban the sale of many vaping products. With few exceptions, it would allow retailers in North Carolina to only sell vaping liquids that have FDA approval. Only 3 vaping companies have ever won FDA approval. One is owned by Winston-Salem-based Reynolds America. Lobbyists for that local tobacco giant are among the bill's strongest supporters. The measure now goes back to the House for final approval.
Gaza is once again receiving aid through the floating pier the United States built. Central Command says it reattached the pier Wednesday after dismantling it. That was to avoid damage from heavy seas. It says that it transported 1.4 million pounds of aid yesterday, and that is the largest single delivery day so far for the structure.
American Airlines is taking new measures after 3 men filed a lawsuit claiming they were racially discriminated against during a flight. The men say they were kicked off a flight from Phoenix to New York. They say the crew told them it was because someone complained about body odor. The men were all eventually allowed to get back on the plane, which was delayed by an hour. This week, the airline CEO sent out a note to employees with new measures, and they include new training for staff, creating an advisory group, and evaluating policies over removing people from flights.
Steve Bannon will start his prison sentence next month. The federal appeals court has rejected its bid to delay it. The former advisor to Donald Trump faces 4 months in prison. A jury convicted him of contempt for not complying with a subpoena for an interview with the House's January 6th investigation. He's expected to report to a federal prison that's in Connecticut by July 1st. He also has a pending criminal case in New York, and that is for accusations that he defrauded people who donated to a fundraiser for a southern border wall.
Detecting medical emergencies. Now there is an app for that. A new smartphone app uses AI to alert when users are experiencing a stroke. Jonathan Seri has that technology that could save nearly 137,000 American stroke victims each year.
An international team of biomedical engineers has developed a smartphone app that may help first responders detect stroke in just seconds,
which can be conveyed to the hospital, to the emergency ward, so that even before the patient has been transferred to the ambulance and before they reach the hospital is prepared.
Professor Dinesh Kumar of RMIT University in Australia collaborated with colleagues at São Paulo State University in Brazil to test the ability of artificial intelligence to diagnose stroke. It looks for asymmetrical face muscle movements when patients are asked to smile into the smartphone camera. Their peer-reviewed study found the app to be 82% effective in detecting stroke. Emory University neurologist Fatih Nihaub says brain damage from stroke happens very fast if not recognized and treated quickly.
Time lost is brain lost because in some studies we see that upwards of 2 million brain cells are lost every minute when somebody's having a stroke.
Developers say they're eager to partner with healthcare providers in the U.S. and around the world to tailor the app to specific needs.
Jonathan Seri reporting, and they say the app is not a replacement for comprehensive tests for stroke patients in hospitals, but it can guide the actions of first responders when time is of the essence.
The first gene therapy to help treat muscular dystrophy now has FDA approval. The drug is called Elevidys. It helps treat a specific form of muscular dystrophy called Duchenne. It was approved last year for 4 and 5-year-old children. Well, now the FDA says it's okay for anyone over the age of 4 with the disease. Duchenne muscular dystrophy progressively makes muscles weaker. It can prevent children from being able to walk, too.
A family in Australia got quite a shock when they realized the stuffed animal wasn't a toy at all. Take a look at this. That's a venomous snake in the bed, found lurking in this little girl's bed. You can see it all curled up near the wall, right underneath the pillow there. Follow the arrow. Fortunately, a snake catcher was able to save the day and successfully remove it. Experts say it was a red-bellied black snake, apparently common in eastern Australia, just not in beds. A story of a donkey has a happy ending here. This is Diesel the donkey. He ran away during a hike outside of his Sacramento home 5 years ago. After searching for weeks, the owners of that pet donkey just assumed the worst. But earlier this year, a hunter spotted a donkey amongst a herd of elk in Northern California, and his owners confirmed that is in fact Diesel right there with those elk. They say that they're not going to try to bring him back because he seems to be living his best life, his happy and healthy life with all his new friends right there. Back with more news, weather, and traffic in a moment.
Get into your car, tuned to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
8:26, the time on our Friday. I'm Jeff Hogan. Lots of sunshine out there. Temperatures will be on the rise. Let's head out to Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL weather patio. You found some shade, though, Elizabeth.
I did, and I'll tell you, it's still fine in the shade. Now, you get a few more hours from now in the sunshine, it's going to feel pretty hot, but it's been a very comfortable morning. Right now, it is 74 in Wilson, 76 in Durham, and 73 in Fayetteville. And as Jeff said, we're seeing sunshine everywhere. It's absolutely gorgeous in the gardens right now. If you have something you need to do outside, get out there and do it as soon as you can. If you like to exercise outside, you need to do some yard work or get in your garden. Right now, temperatures are in the low to mid 70s, 72 Southern Pines, 76 in South Hill, and 74 in Goldsboro. So walking the dog now is great, but we'll climb into the low 90s this afternoon and this evening. Even at 8 o'clock, it's going to be warm in the mid 80s, but nothing like what we'll see this weekend. We have some dangerous heat in our forecast, especially for Sunday and Monday.
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. A couple of incidents on our traffic map on local roads, not really causing any problems for your major commute this morning. We are seeing traffic beginning to thin out just a bit on I-885 in both directions, as a matter of fact. And of course, on the Beltline, we're seeing the usual congestion in the usual spots this morning. To that end, let's take you outside and show you what we're talking about here. This is a live look at I-440 and Lake Boone Trail. You see the inner two lanes and those westbound lanes are moving nicely, but the outer lane, those folks are trying to get onto I-40 westbound, so give yourself some extra time if that's part of your morning commute.
A 2-year-old girl and a man and a woman were hurt in a shooting at an apartment complex on East Cornwallis Road in Durham. This happened around 8 last night. Police were investigating overnight until around 5 this morning. The 3 were taken to the hospital. The child has very critical injuries. The man and woman are expected to be okay. We're back next on Fox 50 with more news, weather, and traffic.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at 8:30, we are staying on top of 2 breaking news stories for you. 6 people were shot in 2 separate shootings in Durham. What we know about the 2 scenes, with the youngest victim being a 2-year-old girl.
And it's still a comfortable start out here this morning on the WRAL patio. Temperatures are in the 70s. I'll show you when we're going to move into dangerous heat over the weekend.
And another triangle swimmer is headed to the Paris Olympics. We have a look at who could be joining her as we head into final races tonight. I tell you what, though, the pressure must be on when you're getting into those trials because you have that shot to be on a global stage at that point.
And we have so many locals in it going against each other. I hate seeing them knock each other out, but that's how it goes.
I'm rooting for everyone in North Carolina. Thanks for joining us this morning here on WRAL News at Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. Thanks for making this part of your Friday. I know one person who's got it made in the shade out there on the WRAL weather patio. I'm not saying that you're not working hard, Elizabeth. I just see you looking comfortable there, right?
Oh, should I look like I'm sweating and suffering out here? It's really comfortable, and I should never dance on television. I'm sorry, can I take that back? But it's a gorgeous morning out here. We take a live look at the gardens, of course, behind me and in the camera just over my head, and it's lovely. 76 degrees, and what makes it comfortable is the fact that our dew point is not too high. It's sitting at 65 right now, and that's a fine dew point for this time of year. Now, what happens over the weekend is that's going to jump on up into the 70s, and it's not not going to be fine. It's going to feel like somebody threw a wet blanket over your head when you stepped outside. So enjoy this last nice morning that we'll see. 72 in Southern Pines, 74 in Rocky Mount, and 70 in Roxborough right now as you're stepping out the door. We will climb into the low 90s for highs this afternoon, but our humidity stays on the low side today. Of course, as I mentioned, as we've talked about all week, that does change over the weekend. The most uncomfortable, dangerous days right now look like Sunday and Monday. I'll show you the heat index for those days coming up.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Just as we were standing here, a couple of incidents, really minor incidents that we've been talking about, completely cleared. We were talking about there was a crash right here on Six Forks Road and also a vehicle on fire. That's completely cleared, which is a good thing. You don't have to worry about it as well. We're also looking at a disabled vehicle on Rock Quarry Road in the eastbound lanes of 40. Not a problem to worry about this morning. Elsewhere around the triangle, we're seeing things really beginning to thin out in the I-885 there in Durham, but still a little bit of brake tapping going on. So you might want to keep that in mind if you're heading out. Oh, here's the Beltline, that northern part of the Beltline. We're seeing the usual traffic volume building. Let's get out there and show you exactly what we're talking about. This is I-40 and Wade Avenue traffic moving nicely in both directions this morning.
WRAL is following breaking news out of Durham this morning. Such a violent night. 6 people were shot within hours in 2 separate shootings. 3 people were shot around 3:30 this morning on Fayetteville Street. And several hours before that, a 2-year-old girl and 2 adults were shot on East Cornwallis Road. We start with WRAL's Heidi Kirk on Fayetteville Street. And Heidi, you've been speaking with neighbors in that area.
Jeff, and one man that we spoke with say that it's not the first time that there's been an active investigation after a shooting outside his house. I'm going to show you what it looks like around here as we speak. There's forensics on the scene and about a dozen, maybe 2 evidence markers on the ground. There's a lot going on here. And this is right at the intersection of Fayetteville Street and Linwood Avenue. That shooting happened many hours ago, around 3:30 this morning. And when officers arrived, they found 3 victims, 2 adult men and an adult woman. Those men were transported to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, but the woman, she is fighting for her life. Now, we asked that person who lives nearby if he heard the gunshots last night, and this is what he said.
I probably did and didn't pay it no mind because I hear it every day, every night. And I done got used to it. Yeah, I've gotten used to it. So I'm just hoping it don't come my way.
And as you can hear, it's just a really sad sentiment that he's expressing. And of course, as you see behind me, this is very much an active investigation, as we've been saying. And police are asking anyone with any information about what exactly happened here to come forward. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, live in Durham.
Nick Perlin was in the WRAL breaking news tracker this morning. He was following the story of 3 other people shot in Durham, including a child.
Heartbreaking details coming out of a shooting at a Durham apartment complex last night. 3 people were shot, and of those 3 people, one of them was a 2-year-old girl. Now take a look at this video from the WRAL breaking news tracker. This is at the Cadence apartment complex in Durham, and you can see police taping off a large part of the parking lot as they try to learn more about what led to this shooting. Now, like I said, 3 people were shot, 1 man, 1 woman, and of course that 2-year-old girl. Now, the adults are expected to recover, but as for the 2-year-old girl, she has very serious injuries and is fighting for her life right now. We're still trying to learn from Durham police if they know what led to this shooting, and of course if they know who fired that gun last night. Once we have more information, we'll be sure to update you. In Durham, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
For the 3rd year in a row, the state Senate voted to legalize medical marijuana, but House Republicans may not be on board to pass it into law. The bill would allow people with certain terminal or life-threatening diseases to use marijuana prescribed by a doctor. People with cancer, ALS, and Parkinson's disease would be covered under the bill. Conservative religious groups that wield the power in the legislature are against the medical marijuana, and House Speaker Tim Morse has said that while he personally supports the idea, most of his fellow Republicans in the House don't.
And the day that we have a majority of the Republican caucus ready to vote for it, then it would suit me to go ahead and vote on it. But until we have that, it won't come to the floor.
The bill would also regulate sales of CBD products in the state. It would require them to be inspected and taxed and sold only to people 18 and over.
A man wanted for possessing and distributing child sexual abuse materials is now in the Halifax County Jail. 27-year-old Cameron Houston turned himself in last night. He's right there on your screen. Roanoke Rapids police charged him with 15 counts of felony second-degree exploitation of a minor. He is now being held on $750,000 bond and due in court next Friday.
Another Southwest Airlines flight is under investigation by the FAA for flying too close to the ground. Flight 4069 to Oklahoma City on Wednesday was at a low 525 feet above the ground as it approached the airport. They were given a low altitude alert. After the descent stopped, the Boeing 737-800 model plane climbed before making a successful landing then. This is the second recent Southwest flight that narrowly missed the ground. Flight 2786 was just 400 feet from crashing into the ocean in Hawaii, an April incident that came to light just last week.
A Fayetteville couple is facing charges because they're accused of more than a dozen break-ins in Wake County. That couple's in jail this morning. 36-year-old Robert Harris and 45-year-old Yanara Locklear appeared in court by video yesterday. You can see them here. Together, they face more than 50 charges of larceny, breaking and entering, and safecracking. Cary police arrested the couple Wednesday night, and police say they broke into 6 restaurants in town. The couple actually owns a vegan restaurant in Cumberland County. Harris is being held without bond, and Locklear's bond is $170,000. Harris has breaking and entering convictions dating back to 2016.
An NC State swimmer is headed to Paris for the Summer Olympics. She made the cut for Team USA. Catherine Burkhoff performed well in the 100-meter backstroke. She took second place in the finals, and Burkhoff is following now in the footsteps of her father, David. He's a 4-time Olympic medalist. 2 of those are from the 100-meter backstroke.
Following in my dad's footsteps is also very special. So, yeah, I mean, he was my earliest inspiration. So to be able to do what he's doing is really cool.
Is it lane 5 or Father David?
It is really cool. You hear him talking about it on the broadcast there. Burkhoff is now the 43rd NC State athlete to make the Olympics. And another well-known swimmer, Carrie's Claire Curzan, will race in the final heat for the 200-meter backstroke tonight, her specialty. She has finished second in her semifinal heat last night. There were 2 other Wolfpack elite swimmers competing in the same category, Ryan White and Kennedy Noble. Both women also advanced to the finals tonight, so what a show that'll be. The Olympic swimming trials continue through Sunday, and you can watch it all on WRAL.
The U.S. State Department is opening 6 new passport agencies, and one is right here in North Carolina. The new facilities will be located in Charlotte, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Orlando, Salt Lake City, and San Antonio. The State Department has not announced opening dates just yet. The news comes after the State Department began testing an updated online passport renewal program, and that was earlier this month.
Overnight closures remain in effect in Holly Springs as work to complete the 540 loop continues. The on-ramp from NC 55 to 540 will be closed from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. each night through next Tuesday. A detour is in place for drivers looking to travel west on 540.
Coming up, during this wave of extreme heat, it is so critical that you stay safe. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione will join us with a look at how fast your car can heat up and more startling statistics.
Also, some fun concerts and festivals are happening this weekend in the Triangle, and we have your out and about best bets.
You know what? Let's get you an extra treat this morning. A live look at White Lake this morning. Beautiful out there. Gorgeous, in fact. It'll be a great day on the water. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will join us with a look at the extreme heat headed our way and when we may just reach 100 degrees.
It's beautiful out here on the patio, especially in a little bit of shade. We'll take a live look at what's happening in the gardens behind me. It's just peaceful and quiet out here this morning. Just lovely. Our temperatures started in the 60s this morning. It was very comfortable. We're moving on up into the mid 70s, but our humidity or our dew point stays moderate today like it did yesterday. Now, it is going to be hot. Don't get me wrong. 93 in Raleigh, 93 in Durham, 94 in Fayetteville under mostly sunny skies. Matter of fact, there's not a cloud in the sky out here on the patio this morning. Our Our dew point just jumped. It was 64, just jumped to 65, which technically bumps us up to steamy. But we're going to keep it steamy to tolerable. We're going to be tolerable for most of the day today. But the problem is by Sunday it goes to tropical. And then it feels oppressively hot and our bodies just aren't able to cool themselves as efficiently. So when we go to tropical on Sunday and Monday, that's when we'll also have the potential for a heat advisory. And we'll talk about what that criteria is and what that means. But let's talk about who's seeing heat advisories right now. A good chunk of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast seeing heat advisories for about the 4th day in a row. The pink areas, excessive heat warnings and an excessive heat watch around Washington, D.C. For us this weekend, the record highs are 100, and we'll be close to that. Saturday at 96 and Sunday 97. And here's a look at the heat risk. Saturday, our dew point, or our humidity, will be, again, sort of on the moderate side. So some pockets around the Triangle and Fayetteville where it could feel like up to 105. But for most of us, we're just in a moderate risk for heat-related injuries. And then that risk goes up on Sunday. Most of us in the red on Sunday and again on Monday. And that heat index would be up around, say, 105 or hotter. So let's take a look at that. For Saturday, the heat index may be around 102 and then 107 on Sunday and Monday. And technically, the criteria for heat advisory is between 104 and 109. So the Weather Service could issue a heat advisory for Sunday and Monday. I wouldn't expect it on Saturday because that dew point will be just a touch lower. And I wouldn't expect an excessive heat warning either. This heat just goes on and on, though. We're looking at above normal temperatures all the way through the end of June. We may even see triple digits by next Wednesday. The last time we saw triple digits was September 7th. Last year at 102. Beautiful at Carolina Beach. You may be tempted to take a run for the beach over the weekend to escape the heat, but look at this rip current danger. It is high right now, and it may stay high all the way through the weekend due to a low pressure system that's sitting off the coast of Florida and Georgia. Temperatures are cooler at the beach, but we're still talking mid to upper 80s for Saturday and Sunday. And even in the mountains, it's going to be warm. Some of the lower elevations in the low 90s, but you get up a little bit and we should be in the mid 70s to mid 80s. Around here, you're just going to have to be careful this weekend. We may have a chance of some thunderstorms on Monday and Thursday, but other than that, heat is our big story.
Certainly is, Elizabeth. During this wave of extreme heat, it's important to stay cautious. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione joins us now to give some perspective with these startling statistics, Anthony, related to summer heat.
It's amazing to see some of these numbers that come out. So, of course, you think about probably tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, all of those as big, impactful weather events. This is a look kind of at the number of people killed, unfortunately, per year. The average here from these weather-related events, 68 for tornadoes. It jumps to 138 for heat-related illnesses, heat-related deaths. And so we always talk about kind of inside the car, being careful out there. Let's talk about this map. So this, I know there's a lot of data on here, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the red line, the very top one right there. That represents an outside air temperature of 95, like what we will see here this weekend. This is the kind of elapsed time, if you will, on that axis. And then the inside of your car, what it would feel like after, let's say, 10 minutes with an outside air temperature of 95. We're looking at a car temperature of almost 130 degrees in just that short period of time. If you get busy, let's say you go into the grocery store and you unfortunately forget about the pets, kids in the car, after 30 minutes, look how high that is, almost 140 degrees inside of your car. Kind of another representation for you here as we look at a 90-degree outside air temperature. It does not take very long at all, 124 after 30 minutes. So that's why we emphasize this a lot of times here with this heat. Make sure to remember the kids, the pets, do not leave them in the car. We'll be watching that here, guys, as we go through this weekend.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, it is a sea of green in Boston this morning. Fans anxiously awaiting for the Boston Celtics NBA parade. They won that NBA title. A duck boat parade will honor the team today. It'll go across the city starting at 11 o'clock this morning, but fans are there early to get the best view. The duck boat parade, it's tradition for championship winning teams in Boston. Again, this all gets started at 11 o'clock this morning. It'll start at TD Garden and go through the city of Boston. The Celtics clinched their record-setting 18th NBA title by beating the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I know you have a fan in your house, the Celtics, so Michelle's definitely happy. All right, the State House Speaker says that lawmakers in both the House and the Senate cannot agree on how to spend a $1 billion surplus. The Senate agrees with the House on giving more money, in fact, to child care and private school vouchers, but the Senate plan would not give bigger raises to state employees like the House wants to do. The House gave final approval to its plan Thursday. The Senate will vote on its plan Monday night. And for complete coverage of the budget proposal, you can go to WRAL.com.
Former President Donald Trump will get the final word when he debates President Joe Biden next week after a coin flip determined the podium placement and the order of closing statements. The coin landed tails, which was the Biden campaign's pick. That meant his campaign got to choose whether it wanted to select the president's podium position or the order of closing statements. Biden's campaign chose the right podium position. Trump's campaign then chose for the former president to deliver the last closing statement. The debate is happening Thursday night.
Fewer undocumented immigrants are crossing the southern border. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported new data, and it shows from April to May, there was nearly a 10% decrease in border crossings. The dip in numbers seen this year can largely be attributed to increased help from Mexico to slow migration.
A memorial for actor Donald Sutherland is growing on his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Fans are paying their respects for the veteran actor who died yesterday, Sutherland at the age of 88. He was known across generations for his roles in MASH, Animal House, The Hunger Games. He'd been suffering from a long-term illness at the time of his death.
This weekend is packed with lots of live music, plus a big celebration for Pride Month in downtown Raleigh. WRAL lifestyle editor Kathy Hanrahan has the details and out and about.
The summer concert season is heating up, and there are two big concerts happening this weekend. First up, country superstar Tim McGraw brings his standing room only tour to PNC Arena in Raleigh on Saturday. He will be joined by special guests Carly Pearce and Timothy Wayne. On Sunday, Willie Nelson brings the Outlaw Festival to Coastal Credit Union Music Park at Walnut Creek. This event will include performances from Willie plus Bob Dylan and Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. The show starts at 5 p.m. And June is Pride Month. On Saturday, the Out Raleigh Festival is happening on Fayetteville Street in downtown Raleigh. From 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., there'll be live music, vendors, artists, a beer garden, and a children's zone. Admission is free. These are just a few ways to get out and about this weekend. Kathy Hanrahan, WRAL News.
An incredible pool rescue in North Carolina is caught on camera as his dad jumped in to save his 2-year-old daughter's life after she nearly drowned in the family pool. Mila Shortridge was swimming with her siblings and friends in their Gaston County backyard. Her father, Matthew, says he heard his 10-year-old scream and then noticed his 2-year-old floating in the pool with her head down. He jumped in and immediately started to resuscitate her while a friend started chest compressions. Mila survived and made a full recovery, and her mom, Amy, hopes to help parents everywhere with their story.
I want everyone possible to know CPR because it really does save lives.
Yeah, keep them at arm's length. It can happen in a second. Some tips that could save a life: supervision, having adults take turns being the designated water watcher. In public, always check for lifeguards and where they're stationed. Another is barriers. Residential pools need a fence and self-locking gate. And consider alarms on doors that lead outside.
A new study ranks Raleigh as one of the best cities in the country for new college graduates. Zumper analyzed the nation's 100 most populous cities, and Raleigh comes in at number 7 on the list. The study looked at a variety of metrics, such as median one-bedroom rents, the number of 25-year-olds with bachelor's degree, the median income of younger residents, and local unemployment rates. Minneapolis tops the list, and Laredo, Texas was ranked toward the bottom.
Tonight, U.S. Olympic track and field trials get started. They're happening at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon through June 30th. Coverage starts 9 o'clock tonight right here on WRAL.
Tiger Woods' son is following in his footsteps. 15-year-old Charlie Woods has qualified for his first USGA championship. He qualified for the U.S. Junior Amateur in Oakland. That's happening next month. Tiger was just 14 when he qualified for his first U.S. Junior. That was reaching the semifinals there. Good for him.
And don't worry, Tiger will remind him that he did it when he was 14. Charlie's 15. Before we go to break, here are the winning lottery numbers. We will get another check on weather and traffic next.